There's been a lot made about the video released by Invisible Children called Kony 2012, which is designed to capture this rebel leader who's been terrorizing people across Central Africa for literally decades. And personally, I'm a fan of pretty much any tactic, or I should say many tactics, that help raise awareness about things that are taking place in parts of the world that the average American doesn't know about. Quite frankly, many of us who are involved in a particular issue, whether it's international development or local issues, we got involved because of something we saw on TV, whether it's a Peace Corps commercial or a picture we saw of a war-torn region, and that led us to get involved with something. And in this YouTube generation, YouTube is going to lead a lot of people to act positively or negatively. So on that level, I think the campaign is great for raising awareness. After that, however, people who do want to really make a change and take charge and get involved in action relating to Joseph Kony really need to get down deep and do their research, because at the end of the day, this is not about one individual. America loves to make stories relating to boogeymen, tell these kids stories at night to make them fear things, you know, Hitler, Osama bin Laden, and now Joseph Kony. We have to go beyond the boogeymen if we really want to understand what's going on as it relates to Central African policy, because there are local African policy issues that help Kony become who Kony has become, but there are also Western policies, Asian policies that have affected Africa over centuries. We're talking about going back to slavery days. And so no problem is just as simple as just getting rid of one person. You get rid of Kony and another Kony's going to pop up somewhere else. There are about over 20 different rebel groups right now that are operating in Eastern Congo. Are we going to make campaign programs and videos to arrest every one of them? No, we have to start targeting people. We have to start targeting corporations, just like with Congo when we talk about conflict minerals and the materials that are making their way into our iPhones and in our computers, into our video game systems. We need to talk about the policies that make sure that people are not coming from enslaved communities in order for us to have that discount. So we need to really look at bigger issues. We also need to make sure that our facts are correct when we're putting videos and projects together. Another issue that we have to look at, particularly as it relates to Africans, is that we don't afford Africans the same level of human dignity and respect that we give to other groups. I don't think it's a good idea for people to walk around wearing Kony 2012 shirts. In the 80s and the 70s and the 90s, when people were fighting against apartheid, for example, we would wear Nelson Mandela shirts. We would wear shirts of Chris Hani, Desmond Tutu, and other people out there who were liberators, and we made them heroes, and we were successful as it relates to getting Nelson Mandela freed. But to walk around wearing shirts of the villains, that's disrespectful. We wouldn't dare dream of walking around with a Hitler shirt or an Osama bin Laden shirt when Osama bin Laden was living, out of respect to the families that died and people who got killed in 9/11, for example. So why would we walk around in this country or in other places where there are victims of the LRA walking around and throw that shirt out there in front of them as a reminder, or have a poster up there as a reminder? We need to celebrate heroes. There are many victims of groups like the LRA who are living now, and we should wear their shirts. I think of people like Evelyn Apoko and Jacob, who's also somebody who appears in the video. Let's prop them up. And somebody will say, well, there are no heroes out there. You know, Mandela was the hero, and so we celebrated him. No, Mandela, we made Mandela the hero. He did great work, but he was a brother to many people in South Africa and across the African continent who were fighting this regime. And so we're fond of picking one. There was only one who stood up, Dr. King, Rosa Parks. One person was tired. But the story goes a lot deeper than that. And we can find people that we can prop up right now if we spend more time concerned about the victims, concerned about the heroes. Let's get out of this nonsense of making people famous in this reality show type world, because we all know that we make people famous through that way. It doesn't really work as it relates to long-term success. So I say go out there, raise awareness about what's taking place on the continent, but after that, get informed. After you get inspired, get informed, because information is one thing, misinformation is another. And Mark Twain said that a lie can spread around the world while the truth is still putting its shoelaces on. Let's get our true shoelaces on. Let's get out there, raise real awareness, and make real change, and really have a dignity and respect for all things African, and not just focus on the negative, because there's a lot of positive taking place on the continent right now. Let's get those campaigns out there too.